was 3 attempts into writing the same scene. I kept scrapping it and starting over. It just wasn't working from any point of view that I had planned. I know traditional writing rules tell you not to add a new POV over halfway into the story, but what else could I do? Sometimes your story knows better than you do. Hi guys, I'm Rebecca, and this is Rebecca's Writings and Ramblings, where I ramble about writing and sometimes other things, but today it's about writing. Specifically about time when I followed my gut rather than worrying about the rules of writing. We've all been there. You're following every piece of writing advice you've ever heard. Don't use anything other than said. Start with action. Make your characters likable. Stick to your planned structure. So what happens to your story when you overfollow those rules, or you just don't follow them at all? I write across multiple genres, so following one set of writing rules is difficult. My stories don't fit neatly into one box of rules. For instance, my main character in the genre series, Tana, she's an anti-hero. She's not always likable, but she is authentic to her story, and that's what's important. And when Pro Writing Aid throws a fit about my dialogue tags, I basically say screw it. It fits the character, it fits the story. Saying said 1,000 times gets boring. That's just how my brain works. So then I was writing this pivotal scene in Shadowdales. This is kind of before I decided to temporarily shelve it. But I was trying to write this really pivotal scene. It wasn't working. I would get a paragraph or two in, and I'd scrap it, and I'd start over. And then I'd get a paragraph or two in, and then I'd scrap it, and I'd start over. Every single POV I tried just didn't work. It didn't make sense in their point of view. Now, there was this other character who didn't have POV yet, and I wasn't intending on giving him one. But I had this thought, what if I tried writing it from his point of view? I definitely second-guessed myself here. You weren't supposed to add a brand new point of view character over halfway the novel. It was going to break the pattern of POVs that I had established since the beginning. But I did it anyway, and it worked. As soon as I started writing from this new character's perspective, it clicked. The scene glowed, the emotions landed, and bonus, it opened up a twist I never saw coming. This character is getting more POV scenes now. He didn't even name POV in the third book whenever I get around to that. The story, because of this adding an extra POV, it's going way beyond what I planned. Again. But that's fine, because that's what the story needs. So, is this intuition, or is it laziness? Was I just too lazy to make the scene work from an established POV? Well, given that I tried to write it in every single established point of view, and it just didn't flow, no, it wasn't laziness. I tried. But here's how you can tell if your want to change something is intuition or laziness. Laziness feels like avoidance. You don't want to work, so you're just taking shortcuts. The scene in question, it's not that you can't write it the way you wanted to. You just don't want to. You're just like, it can go quicker from this other person's perspective. It can move the story faster. Faster isn't always good. But that's a different video. Intuition, though, it feels like necessity. Like I said, when I started writing that chapter, that scene, from the correct new POV, it flowed. It made the story work in a way it wasn't going to work if I had forced it into one of the other POVs. You might not know why it works, but it does. So how do you know when you are fighting your story and you need to trust your intuition? Well, your words don't flow. That's been established. You keep having to start over because one thing or another just doesn't work. It feels like you're forcing it, like you're having to push every single word out of your brain through like a teeny tiny hole that's way too small because the words just don't want to come out for it. They don't actually fit into the story that you're trying to write. And also, you're procrastinating more than usual in my case. If you're going through emails or working on admin work that you usually avoid like the plague, just so you don't have to write, that's a sign that you need to change things up a bit. When I was working on this scene in Shadow Tales, I was literally only getting a paragraph or two in. My story was physically resisting me. Annoying. But when I started writing it from the correct perspective, it flowed. It just came out within a few minutes. I think I wrote that scene in maybe 20 minutes. Maybe less. It was ready now. Surprises happened. Characters reveal things that you didn't know. Or at least I didn't. So how do you know when to trust your gut over that traditional writing advice? Well, when something goes wrong, even if you can't say why. When your characters are pulling you in a direction you are intending to go. When the right choice feels forced or flat, or it just doesn't work. And of course, when breaking the rules serves the story better than following it. Writing advice exists to help you tell better stories. So if following it makes your story worse, just let it go. It's not serving you. So that Shadow Tales scene taught me that my story often knows things that I don't know yet, or that I'm ignoring in some cases. When I trust the intelligence that the story gives me, even when it means breaking rules or completely changing my plans, I discover things that I could never have plotted. Your intuition as a writer is trained by every book you've ever read, every story you've ever heard, and every emotion you've ever felt. It's not random, it's informed. And sometimes it deserves more trust than that outline you threw together. What about you? What's a time when you broke a writing rule and it worked out? Or it didn't. But let me know in the comments. I would love to hear stories of you trusting your gut. And if this resonated with you, next week we are diving into where stories really come from. And why the best ones surprise even us. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed this to let me know that you would like to see more of this kind of content. And remember, sometimes the best writing advice is to just ignore writing advice. Bye guys. See you next time.